Well, hi guys, welcome back to Real Estate Analysis 101. I'm Paul Hunter. I'm a realtor here in Houston. I've been here for about 7 years. I'm from Colombia, South America, so I know a little bit about high inflation, high interest rates, high unemployment rates. So today we're going to be covering new construction sales in Q3 are a record high in relation to other sales. But before we get started, a quick thing. First, I am not your financial advisor. However, I do appreciate likes, subscriptions to my channel, and comments especially. Tell me if I'm doing a good job, if I have anything you want to hear about in particular. So let's get started. Well, another thing I'd like to get out in the open at the beginning of every video is I am not a doom and gloom kind of guy. You're not going to get that from me. You're going to just get the facts. The trouble is that if enough people buy into the doom and gloom, they will create enough of a critical mass for people to fall into that and make it a reality. So what I always advocate is the facts. I mean, let's look at the facts. What's going on with real stuff, and hopefully that will affect the psychological processes to go into a more positive reality in the future. I just want to make sure that you guys know I'm not blowing smoke up anywhere. And economics is mainly a result of psychological alignment of a critical mass of human thought. In other words, these people everybody getting together and aligning in a certain way, they will create that reality. And hopefully it's not gloom and doom. If you listen to all the gloom and doomers out there, you will create a gloom and doom situation. Also, I'd like to get started by defining what is a balanced real estate market. So if we have 6 months of inventory, in other words, if no other property comes into the market today, and it takes 6 months to sell all that property, we have a balanced market. That's just the way it's been defined. Traditionally, that's just the way it is. So if we have less than 6 months inventory, we have a seller's market. If we have more than 6 months of inventory, we end up getting a buyer's market. So with all of the doom and gloom about how everything's crashing and so on, just wanted to let you know, we're still in a seller's market. There's still way less than 6 months worth of inventory nationally. Now, every location is a little bit different. So there'll be some places where it'll be, they'll have, 2, 3, 4 months worth of inventory. Other places will have less than a month. But think of it this way. We were having less than 19 days worth of inventory. So right now we're around 2.3 and 3.5 months of inventory. It's a lot more inventory than we had, say, a year ago, but it's well within what a good market like 2019 was. And if you're a seller, you're still in control. If you're a buyer, there'll be a little bit more competition, just the way it goes. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, well, this is an article by in Redfin, and it says that new home construction sales in Q3 reached a record high in the U.S. According to a national property broker, Redfin, 29% of U.S. single-family homes for sale in the Q3 of 2022 were new construction. That's the highest share of any Q3 on record. That's up from 25% in the Q3 of 2021 and 18% in the Q3 of 2020. What that means is that we have around 29 or almost 30% of all homes sold in the market for the Q3 of 2022. 30% of them were new homes. So, and it's been growing. So that's an interesting trend. Newly built homes have been taking up a growing portion of overall housing supply since 2011, when buildings started to rebound after the financial crisis. The trend is now intensifying due to a surge in construction during the pandemic and a recent slowdown in existing homeowners putting their houses up for sale. Single-family housing starts rose 14% year over year in 2021, and that's the largest increase in 2013. Now, home builders started scores of projects during the pandemic, moving frenzy, and now are stuck with a bunch of new houses that are hard to sell because mortgage rates have risen to 7%, said Faith Floyd from a Redfin agent here in Houston. Builders are giving away everything but the kitchen sink to attract bidders. Many are offering to buy down the buyer's mortgage rate by 1.5 points, and I've seen at least one offer $10,000 check for closing costs, a $3,000 gift card, and a free fridge. Actually, I've seen more than that. And as an aside, talk to your lender about the 2-1 buy down program, and there's even one a 3-2-1 buy down. So that means that you can bring down your interest rates by 3 percentage points for up to 3 years, and that is there's some things you need to get into, and that'll be a different video. But it's a very effective way to get into a new home, or actually any home, but we're talking about new homes at this point. Many builders are offering more incentives than regular sellers. A lot of individual sellers are still pricing their homes too high because they're having a hard time accepting that the pandemic housing boom is over, and they're not going to get 30 offers like their neighbor did. And that's a big problem in the market, because again, the psychology behind it is that a lot of people heard that their neighbors had 10, 15 offers. They sold for 10, 15% above list price, and they think that they're going to get the same thing. Well, that's not happening. The reality is that the market is leveling off, and a part of it is, again, supply and demand will always reign in all markets. In other words, that'll be like the supreme law is supply and demand. So demand is being lowered by the interest rates being higher. There are less buyers out there and less people who are interested in buying. So therefore the prices are going to come down because the supply of homes is still a little bit higher. Now, what does that mean? We've talked about it before. We're still in a very strong seller's market. So we'll be kind of in a market similar to what 2019 was. So here we go. Builders are also dangling incentives in front of real estate agents. Floyd said some are offering agents a 5% commission, up from 0 during the pandemic and a typical 3% before the pandemic, in addition to bonuses of up to $6,000. With a glut of inventory on their hands, builders will likely ease up on construction in 2023. And that means that there will be few resale opportunities. In other words, if you are a homeowner at this point, you'll have a little bit less of an opportunity. Doesn't mean you don't have it. And again, it's a matter of proportion and of psychology. Now, if you are expecting to have your house sell for, 15, 20% above list price and have a bunch of offers competing, that's not going to happen. I mean, that's not going to happen in general. Now, you might get a few out there that's still some laggards, some property that is really very, very desirable, but in general, that's just not going to happen. So there will be a lot of better new home sale opportunities. In other words, if you are looking for a home, if you're a buyer and you're looking for a home at this point, you can talk to your lender and look at those buy down programs, and you can look at the builders and see what they're doing in terms of incentives. And there's a lot of that stuff going on. So it'll be very interesting to see how it all plays out. But I think that if you're a buyer and you are willing to go out there and do the legwork and look at different houses and be a little flexible in terms of exactly where you want to go, you'll find incentives that will give you a great home for a great price at a great monthly payment. So another thing that we see in this article, which I'm starting to see also, is that since 2023, there'll be less new construction. There'll be more unemployed construction crews. So if you're an investor and you have been having trouble, like I have, finding crews that will do the work for a price that allows me to make a profit on the flip, or even on a hold if you're going to rent the house out, there'll be more opportunities to find those crews. Now, again, it's not something that the market has not crashed yet. It might. I'm not saying it's not going to. I'm just saying that I'm not going with a doom and gloom because the data doesn't show that we're crashing. We might. Again, I'm not saying we're not. I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody does, and anybody tells you they do, that they're full of baloney. That's just not the way it works. But just logical supply and demand kind of data-driven information and data-driven strategies are that if the builders are building less homes, we'll have a number of crews out there that are going to be unemployed or underemployed. So that gives us investors an opportunity to hire those crews, put them to work, especially in these winter months when the construction comes down anyway. So we'll have a lot more opportunity to find crews that can fix our homes. Now, another interesting part of this article is pandemic boomtown at relatively high share of new homes. So a lot of these homes that people wanted to go to, or these areas and these towns that people were moving to, a lot of builders ramped up dramatically. So here we go. Many of the metro areas with relatively high shares of new homes for sale have something in common. They ramped up building during the pandemic because they exploded in popularity with out-of-town buyers and are now seeing significant slowdowns in their housing markets. More than half of the metros in the top 20 are Texas and Florida, hot pandemic destinations with room to build. More than a quarter of the top 20 are now on Redfin's list of fastest cooling markets. They're coming down. As an example, in El Paso, Texas, newly built single-family homes made up half of all homes for sale in the third quarter, the highest share among the 80 major metros with sufficient data that Redfin analyzed. Next came Oklahoma City, Omaha, Nebraska, Raleigh, North Carolina, Houston, that's us here. And rounding out the top 10 are Northport, Sarasota in Florida, San Antonio, Texas also, Greenville, South Carolina, Boise, Idaho, and Charleston, South Carolina. The southwestern Florida metro of Northport was consistently one of the top migration destinations during the pandemic because it offers relative affordability and sunshine that caused home prices and construction to surge. Building permits in Northport soared 68% year over year in 2021, while home prices rose 21%. Because it heated up so much during the pandemic, it's now one of the fastest cooling markets. That's causing many existing homeowners to hold off on listing, which is causing listings of newly built homes to take up even longer share of the market, an even larger share of the market. So this is what we're talking about before. The psychology behind it. People, they saw their neighbor's home sell for 21% over the year before. And so they feel that they need to do the same. And since they can't get it, they're not listing. So what happens is that the homes that are what we call resale value, in other words, the homes that are already owned, they're not new builds, that inventory is probably coming down a little bit, and then and the inventory in new builds is going up anyway, but it's going up as a proportion of the total. So again, if you're a buyer, it behooves you to go out there and check on new builds and see what's going on. There's a lot of competition out there. As an agent, I know I get all these phone calls, I get all the emails where they're giving us incentives to bring buyers in. I never do that. I don't find that that's, I'll take the commission or the bonus if my client is already going to go there and buy there. But I don't steer my clients towards just because I'm going to get a bigger bonus or a better commission. In fact, I have done deals for clients where they cut my commission to less than half, and it upset me. I didn't like that a lot. I've got to be honest. But my fiduciary responsibility is to my client. So therefore, I went ahead, did the deal, and worked it as if it were a full commission with bonus and everything kind of deal, because it's that's just the way I work. So what does all this mean to us in this particular article? I think if you're a buyer, go and look for incentives that are being given by the builders. Again, if you're a buyer, talk to your lender or to your realtor that can refer some lenders that are doing some really aggressive buy down, interest rate buy downs. We'll get into that in another video, but essentially what they do is that you're going to be able to pay the same monthly payment as if you were paying, and say it's 7% in the market and you'll be paying 4%. So that's a great deal, right? There are some things involved, and we'll get into another video with that. But if you're buyers, you have the builders giving you incentives, and the lenders are coming up with programs that allow you to mitigate some of that increase in the interest rate. The sellers are paying for part of that, but we'll talk about that the other thing. So again, if you're an investor, you can buy. There's still some resale properties out there to be had. Talk to your realtor about that. And if you buy them now, there's also a really good possibility that you can find unemployed crews, construction crews that can help you build or remodel those homes to bring them up to standard. And you can either flip them, which at this point is hard. I would do it. My personal perspective, I would keep them for a while and rent them out. But that's every investor has a different strategy and different tactics to go with that. So again, sell if you can. If you're a seller and you can get the money for it, it's still a seller's market. So talk to your realtor. It may be a really good idea to talk to them and see if you can put them on the market. You will not get 25% more than the year before. If you've held your home for a short period of time, you are not going to make 20% or 25%. So that's something the mindset's got to be, the psychology's got to be, you got to be realistic about what's going on. So if you're a seller, sell if you can. Buyer, buy if you must. And if you're out there, you got to be good or you got to be careful. Hopefully both. Okay, guys, I hope you got some value from this video. Please let me know in the comments. You guys know that I want you to gain understanding of the psychology behind economics. You can make better real estate decisions. I am not your financial advisor. Again, I'm just a realtor that wants to share my insights so that you can learn from my mistakes and successes. So again, when you're out there, be good or be careful, or both.